Sahana Bhavatu Sahanao Bhunaktu Saha Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Ma Vidvishavahai Shanti, Shanti, Shanti.
Question 1 from Mitadru. In one of the e-learning lectures, while explaining the example of the snake and the rope, Swamiji said that all the theories of Brahman are meant to quieten the mind and don't really have meaning by themselves. Question: how should a student of Vedanta approach and learn these theories?
So, when you say these theories are meant to quieten the mind, right? That's what you're asking. How do we approach this, right? Now, why is this not opening? Hold on. Yeah, there it is. So you take that same example, snake and rope. That's what you're asking. While explaining the example of the snake and rope, all theories of Brahman, theories in the sense how this world got created. That's what it means. Theories of creation of the world and Brahman are meant to quieten the mind and don't really have meaning by themselves. Can anybody explain why is that? That these theories of creation, in fact, there are many theories. Upanishads have multiple theories. How the world got created.
It's a theory in the end.
It's a theory in the end. No, what he's saying is they don't have any meaning.
Because in the absolute sense, there is no creation.
Absolute sense, there is no creation. See, correct. The point is, suppose you ask, give me the theory of how this snake is created. Will you give an answer? There was a mother snake. Then there was a father snake. A grandfather also. And then it came from here, there. Does it have any meaning? Why does it not have any meaning? Any theory of creation has no meaning. Why?
Because you are in that state where
you are in that state.
Let's say like we
The theory of the snake has no meaning. Why?
It's only
There is no snake. So how can there be a theory of creation, right? So, meant to quieten the mind in the sense intellectually you understand it's an illusion. That is the theory, that there is no creation. That itself is a theory, right? But for the illiterate people is what he's talking about. This creation just meant to quieten their mind. Yes, God created the world. Upanishads, they say, Brahman va ekagra asita. Brahman was there by himself. Then he thought, Lokan Srijanamu, let me create these worlds, the creation. Does it have any? So, it's an illusion, right? A delusion. So, there cannot be any theory in that sense. So, a student of Vedanta understands, it's a tongue in cheek that, look, this is an illusion. So, there is no creation. The goal is to overcome this illusion. Clear?
Question 2 from Payal. Question A. Volunteering time for a local organization to help the community gives me emotional satisfaction. Though I'm doing it because it ought to be done, the organization works for a social cause, etc. Does this make me selfish?
Okay, let's take question 1. I am working for a local organization to help the community, and it does give me emotional satisfaction. Though I am doing it because it ought to be done. The organization works for a social cause. Does it make me selfish? No, it does not. That's what you should do. Doesn't have to be a social organization. It could be anything. We've talked about that multiple times. What Vedanta says, you should serve because you believe you ought to do it. It's an intellectual understanding that this ought to be done in life to grow as a human being. Incidentally, you get satisfaction and peace out of it. But if you're doing it because it makes me peaceful, that becomes selfish. It's a very subtle difference. You have a higher goal in life. You want to evolve as a human being. You want to be more unselfish. That is fine. You understand that's what you ought to do. You understand that is the mission and purpose of a human existence is to grow all the way to enlightenment. That's why you do it. Not because of that feedback. Oh, I feel good about it. In other words, what's the test? If you don't feel emotionally satisfied, you would still do it. That's the test, right? Because you yourself are saying, I'm doing it because it ought to be done. Then why are you bringing in emotional satisfaction? It could give you dissatisfaction. Helping somebody could make you feel uncomfortable. You'd rather go and indulge yourself. So this is what the whole teaching is. Regardless of your personal feelings, you do what ought to be done. That is a selfless action. So if you do it because it ought to be done, there's a higher purpose in life. How can you call it selfish? That is the definition of truly unselfish. But if you do it, yes, I love doing that, I feel so good. Which means you would not do it because if it didn't make you feel good. It's like saying I go to a Chinese restaurant, it makes me feel good. I don't go to Indian, it doesn't make me. What's the difference? It's all about you. Got it?
Part B of the question. You cited the example of telling your child to do certain things to, for example, get into college. Does causing my child to do this make me selfish? Am I acting selfishly by guiding them to navigate an important process?
Selfishness again would come if it is how you feel. I want my child to be successful. It is all about you and what you want, rather than what is the best course of action for the child's benefit. So even if it is your child, if it's genuinely about serving the child, it is selfless. It is not selfish. So they've come to you for guidance and you're providing the right guidance for their benefit. I've always dreamed I could never become a doctor. You should become. I've always had this plan for you. This is highly selfish. You understand? It is about what you want to make them do. You got it? Very difficult to separate the two. That's the whole problem, because you're so attached that the child's desires are your desires. So what makes the child happy makes you happy. That is why you do it. So to be selfless is not easy. What is the right decision for that person? What would benefit them? So it is not selfish if you're doing it for the child's benefit. But if there's a personal feedback, which there invariably is, because every parent is completely attached. What's the test? It's selfless.
If you'd be agitated if they didn't.
You'd be disturbed if they didn't do what you told them to do. You'd be disturbed if it didn't come out as you wanted it to come out. So that agitation is the sign. There is a selfish motive there. It is selfless. I did my best. Now, if there is something which didn't come out well, now what more can I do? What better? How do we rectify it? That's fine. Just move on to the next experience. Total objectivity. So who's like that? You tell me. You ever met any parent who's objective? It's impossible. Vedanta you'll be.
I had a question. Suppose the outcome is as, you do it for outcome and outcome is good. You're not disturbed if the outcome is opposite. But if you feel happy because of the outcome, is that not philosophically, is it wrong?
What?
Like the feeling of happiness.
Feeling of happiness should be in doing what ought to be done, not what comes out of it. What comes out of it, there's a result in mind. So you must see the opposite. No, I just explained to you. You're happy if something is done, means opposite. If it was not done, you'd be unhappy. You're attached. Simple. So that's what the test is. There is no greater happiness than the performance of the action. That is a selfless action. Because it's just done, it ought to be done. And that performance of the action itself is the greatest satisfaction. So it's totally irrelevant. You understand? You don't work for failure. If it happens, you understand. Siddha, asiddha, samo bhutva. Samatvam yoga uchyate. That evenness in success and failure, that is the test. Samatvam yoga uchyate. That evenness of mind is yoga. Is the test of spirituality. You're all going, putting flyers for this event and this and that. Now, as soon as how many people registered from the flyers? So they spoiled the whole action. Nobody. It doesn't, that is irrelevant. You should use your intellect, do what you ought to do. Is that something that ought to be done? If you decide it is, do it. That is the beginning and end. I did what I ought to do. Krita kritya, that fulfillment of doing, krita, done, krita kritya, what ought to be done. I have done what ought to be done. Got it?
Question 3 from Shikhar. Gautamji has often described how to balance the practice of karma, bhakti, and jnana yoga in our daily lives. An hour of scriptural study between 4 to 6 a.m., selfless, unselfish service throughout the day, and listening to devotional music, watching inspirational videos. Question A. Can you please comment on the relevance or applicability of shlokas, mantrams dedicated to specific deities like Lord Vishnu, Goddess Lakshmi? Question B. Could chanting of such shlokas mentally help deal with stressful situations when our intellect may not be available?
So, Shrikar, what you're saying, relevance or applicability, that comes under devotion, right? That's what I'm singing. Devotional music is what? Is singing bhajans or shlokas or chanting or prayer, whatever you feel inspired by.
Okay.
So there are a variety of options available. Some people like to do the rituals, some people like to chant the shlokas, some people like to listen to bhajans, devotional music. I went to the extent of saying nature documentaries and videos. People who may not react to music and chanting, whatever, all this comes under devotion.
Okay.
It should generate that feeling that there is something much higher than you. You are insignificant. There is a great reality beyond all this. And that feeling should come. You want to become one with that reality. You want to become one with God. That is devotion, nothing else. Now, people, specific deities and all, the way people have misunderstood that specific deity, you ask for that specific thing. So, Lakshmi is what? Lakshmi Puja just happened, no? What is everybody praying for? And Lakshmi should come. Lakshmi means wealth. Everybody is praying, wealth should come. If there are fellows who don't gamble throughout the year, Diwali they'll gamble. Because we should start the year, suppose Lakshmi comes in a big way. You understand? So,
I followed. Yes, thank you.
And will these shlokas help deal with stressful situations when intellect may not be available? So, how will it help you deal with a stressful situation? You tell me. Other than just temporarily making you think of something other than the stressful situation, which helps by the fact that you are not thinking of some things. But it's not going to help you. Again, it will come back.
Right. But at least temporarily, the mind starts going in another direction, at least halts it.
To that extent, but it's not going to solve anything. See, it's like saying, why does a drink help me? Why does a vacation help me?
Right.
I feel so de-stressed when I walk, whatever, because your mind is taken away from that environment, which is causing the stress. So it's very temporary. Everybody wants that temporary fix, but it doesn't solve the reason why you're stressed. It's because the mind is out of control. So that has to be controlled first. That is through hard work.
Right. But I think you answered my question, Gautamji. The reason I was saying is sometimes, at least momentarily, you don't want to say something silly and this takes it away. And of course, it doesn't solve the problem, but at least prevents.
Momentarily, you don't want to say something silly. Okay. All the time you're saying something silly. You're saying momentarily, I don't want to say something. So you're talking to your wife, you're going to say something silly. Now suddenly start chanting. What is it? What is he saying? Such shlokas. Mentally start chanting. You may not say something silly, but you may get something on your face, tight slap in return. Now, what are you saying? Understand the principle.
Yes.
Right?
Understood. Thank you.
Every time I want to talk to you, you start mentally chanting. And your answer is it's temporarily to get away from your stressful situation. Don't try such things, Sika. And he wants confirmation from me. I was just confirming. It helps temporarily. He just wants to hear yes. I'm not a goat. I'll just say yeah. 2-3 times he tried. It's okay. No, it's okay. Yeah, it's okay. Yes.
So what if somebody does not have an intellect to control their mind and they want some relief?
They don't have an intellect to control the mind, but they want some relief. So this is what happens. Temporarily, you get a relief by getting away from the environment. That's so it could be in the form of distracting you or consciously getting away from that environment and then strengthening yourself through spiritual study, reflection, right? So, see, you must understand the problem. What is the problem? You yourself are saying the intellect is not strong enough, which means the mind takes over, right? So, when the mind takes over, how can you control it? Because your intellect is not strong enough. It's like an alcoholic has a problem, desire for alcohol, the intellect cannot control. What is the only chance for that person? Not to go to a bar, not to keep that bottle at home. So once he's away from the environment, at least the mind can think. That's the only chance. So everything becomes temporary. You find these people going here for a vacation, you come back, stress at work is back to square one, right? You have to deal with the problem, which is a weak intellect. You've got to build your intellect through spiritual study and reflection. It's a powerful desire from the past. You've created that thought force. You've got to pay the price for it. I've told you all of us.
Question 4 from Shikhar. When aspiring youngsters approach elders, parents for advice regarding the fields they intend to pursue, like medicine, psychology, neuroscience, physics, how should one direct their questions?
Now, again, Shikhar, whichever fields they intend to pursue, doesn't have to be medicine or physics, could be anything. Answer is the same. How should one direct their questions? The fundamental principle is swadharma. Exactly what we were discussing earlier. What is the role of a parent, right? What is selfless? What is selfless action? Now, if you care about the child, you will make sure that the child takes up the field of activity which is aligned with their basic inherent nature. Swa means one's own, right? Dharma means nature. So their basic inherent nature is to take medicine. Right from childhood, they've shown an inclination to be a doctor. And suddenly their friend says, you know how much money there is in Wall Street finance? And they come and ask you, Dad, I'm rethinking the whole thing. I'm going to go into Wall Street. You, as a parent, you must say, look, you've been constantly throughout your life been interested in medicine. It's been your dream, it's been your ambition. And suddenly one fellow says you'll make a quick buck, you want to discard all that. That's not your real nature, right? Now the problem with parents is, like I said, they have their own desires. They want to impose on the child. Of course, you should be a doctor. No, regardless of their swadharma. Their swadharma could be finance. Whole life they are constantly talking about money, including how to swindle you, any chance they get. Now, why you want that fellow to be a doctor? He'll start swindling his patients. You might as well put them in some finance or whatever. You understand? How to make more money, how to whatever the field is. You get it?
Yes. Thank you.
You don't go into medicine to make money. You go into it to serve.
Yes.
Okay, incidentally, yes, you make all the money in the world. There's nothing wrong with that. That's not the reason you go into that field. You go in because you are interested in that. That's what you want to become. It's what you see yourself doing morning, noon, and night. So always direct them to their basic nature, or sit with them and explore what has been their swadharma throughout their life. I have started such a big business for who? This is the answer you will give. What have I started this huge business for? For you only, no? Now that fellow, okay, nothing else to do. If they're passive, they'll accept and remain frustrated. They're aggressive, they'll fight. So that's what happens. Either two things will happen. Neither one is the correct one.
Thank you, Gautamji. Thank you. Question 5 from Roberta. Who is the one projecting this world and all the people in it? Would it be Brahman itself?
So, Roberta, in a sense, what you're saying, you must understand it. What does Vedanta say? Vedanta says you are Brahman. You are that supreme consciousness, that absolute reality, all pervading, non dual consciousness, that thou art. You are that. So, where there is only you, you are now seeing yourself as this little body, mind, intellect, and this world. So, it is true to say you are that Brahman, now imagining yourself to be this waker, experiencing this waking world. It's not incorrect to say that. Just as it's not incorrect to say to the dreamer, you are the waker, now one part of you imagining yourself to be a dreamer, the other part is the dream world. But it's all the waker, right? It's all that one consciousness. Sarvam Yetat Brahma, Ayam Atma Brahma is a statement of practice. Abhyasa Vakya means all this is Brahman. I am that Brahman. This is what the whole thing boils down to. So why are you considering yourself to be Roberta when you are actually Brahman? This is the reality. This is what the masters are saying. Why are you content with pennies when you are a priceless diamond? So you keep your diamond, I'll keep my pennies. Now what can anybody do? Literally, it's like that. Keep your knowledge, let me live my life. There's a live. Right? We're done. So we have good time. Anybody has any other questions, clarifications? Feel free to ask. Where are all our usual suspects are not there today? That's why it's quiet. Manjula.
Gautamji. This was my question. I was just looking for the practical application for that chapter on illusion, which we were doing on the Vedanta treatise. Is it just to remind us that everything is transitionary, like the worst and the good times both pass? Everything is not exactly what we perceive to be, that what we think is good might not be, and that the self is just the only eternal and the real truth? And Vedanta just teaches us different ways to recognize this fact.
See, you shouldn't look at every chapter as what can I practically apply from this chapter. See, the last part of Vedanta treatise should not be looked at like that.
Okay.
It is explaining to you what is the ultimate truth of life, which is the highest knowledge known to humankind. So it's not easy to understand. You try and understand what they are saying. And yes, I told you even while doing the chapter, right, that you can't take it literally. This world is real and it has its own laws and regulations, cause and effect, which you have to follow and respect. You can't take that stance. So if you want to say, what can I get out of this whole understanding, is that what you are experiencing is not the reality. There is a reality beyond this. This is, like you said, a passing transitory phase. which is not the truth. So the focus should be how to use this transitory experience in the world to get to the ultimate state of enlightenment. That should be your goal. That should be how you look at it. Now, what do I need to do to ultimately understand and become one with the self? But at least there must be a clear vision of the goal, that it is not this world which will give me what I am looking for, what I am actually seeking. The true peace, the true permanence is beyond this world, beyond this realm of me and this experiences I'm going through. But we are so caught up in this temporary show. It's like a child caught up in a puppet show. Doesn't understand that it's all made up. Can't understand. A little kid who's looking at a puppet show on the stage, right? How can it understand? Thinks it's real. Vasu?
Gautamji, you mentioned in the past, where even the thought of the self can give you relief from everyday situations, struggles or whatever, right? Could you elaborate on that?
It's the when you say gives you relief, what is that which gives you sorrow? First you understand that. No? What is sorrow? What is sorrow?
Identification with body, mind, and intellect.
Simply that sounds very good, but what is it?
Pursuing the world.
Pursuing the world. All poetry.
Not getting what you want.
Not getting what you want. What is sorrow?
Existence of desire.
Existence of a desire. So, the flow of thought from you to the world is sorrow. Desire means what? I want that. That is desire, no? Why do you want something? Because right now you are unhappy. So the existence of that desire, the body constantly craves for physical pleasure, mind craves for emotional joy, ego craves for importance and status. These are the three forces, main forces, which cause sorrow. So, what is joy? How do we define joy? Happiness? What is happiness? Definition of happiness is what? What is it?
Cessation of agitation.
Cessation of agitation. Removal of agitation. Right? So what is causing agitation? These thoughts towards the world. So minute your thought is on the self, the agitation ceases. You become peaceful. It's as simple as that. The moment you take away the attention and identification with your body, mind, intellect, immediately you become peaceful. So it could be unselfishness, it could be selflessness. You will be peaceful. It is that selfishness which causes sorrow. If I get that, I will be happy. So if you can stop that thought force, you will be peaceful. This is the simplest truth, and yet it's the most profound truth. Because whole life you've been conditioned to believe it is fulfillment of your selfish desires which produces happiness. So you can't understand the simple truth. Got it?
So one follow-up, Gautamji. So if I'm going through a difficult situation, right, and if I tell myself, who is it that is really experiencing this?
You don't talk all this rubbish. I've told you, I'm going through a difficult situation. Who's been going through difficult situation? Why do you see, the whole thing is, I want to get relief right now from my situation. You will not. You understand? First of all, you must understand you got to pay a price for your past selfishness. All the time, I. You got to pay a price for that. So slowly you got to shift your focus to the self through the spiritual practices, through unselfish service, through knowledge. That's what shifts your focus. At that time, I am going through something, I am not the. It won't work because you don't have the capacity to do that. What you're saying is true. If you can shift your thought to yourself, you'll be fine. Try it. You keep asking the same thing in a different way. Whole thing is, how can I be free from sorrow right now? No God, nobody can help you with that. Get up in the morning, put your heart and soul into it, serve and sacrifice. Go on to serve. Every thought is about yourself, not about you, everybody. They all want to be peaceful. Why am I not peaceful? Why am I stressed? That itself is selfishness. Yes, Jayu?
Hari Om Gautamji. We use the word vasanas and ignorance interchangeably, but they distinctly two different things, right? Vasana, ignorance is not knowing Brahman, and vasana is your inner nature. How do you use those interchangeably? How does that connect?
How does that connect? It is ignorance which creates desire. That's all. The same thing. One is unmanifest, one is manifest. Vasanas is desires.
Okay.
In fact, vasanas is not desires. Vasanas is ignorance. That's what we're saying. Ignorance is what creates desires. If you know yourself, why would there be desires? There will not be. Because you're already fulfilled.
Right.
That's all. Right means that's the right thing.
But we use ignorance and vasanas interchangeably.
It's the same thing I just told you. Ignorance means desires. Desire is a further manifestation of ignorance.
And desires is also a manifestation of vasanas?
Yeah. That's why both are same, no?
That's why they're the same? Okay. So, but ignorance and vasanas are both unmanifest.
Yes, you don't know what vasanas are, you don't know what ignorance is. That's why we are saying. You only know it through its expression as desires. So we use vasanas, desires interchangeably. As one is unmanifest, one is manifest. The same thing. Avidya, kama, karma. Ignorance, desire, action. It's all one and the same thing. It's a cycle of, it's just manifest, unmanifest. One is like seed and sapling and tree, It's just expressions. The same thing.
Thank you.
Jennifer?
Hi, Gautamji. So I had a question. Chapter 18 of the Gita, where they talk about sannyasa and tyaga, relinquishment. So Swamiji said that sannyasa is an effect and tyaga is something that you can practice. So in other words, focus on tyaga first.
Right.
But then he also gives the example of how someone who has no desire to act can still be focused on the fruit of action. And he gives the example of like someone cooking in the kitchen. And I was a little confused because how can you have no desire to act, be a sannyas, but not overcome relinquishment yet?
No, that's not possible. You're right. That's not possible. Sannyas is a state where you have overcome the desire through knowledge. You are fixed on a higher desire, so the lower leaves you, right? It's like you've become an adult, so that you have renounced the child world, the toy world. It doesn't mean anything to you. That is sannyas, right? So what he's saying, when a person doesn't have a desire to act in the sense, is tamas. They don't want to move and act, but the desires are very much there inside. But they don't want to put in the effort to fulfill them. So outwardly they seem as if they are sannyas. They don't have the desires. Of course they do. You understand? So what we need to practice is, tyaga is relinquishment, in the sense you can practice renouncing the selfishness in the desire and work for a higher purpose. The desire is very much there, but you are trying to overcome it. That is tyaga, by working for a higher purpose. In sannyas, the desire itself is not there. You already overcome it. That's the difference. So one is a cause, one is an effect. See, you have a desire for, you're a millionaire, you have a desire for making more money. You still have that desire for more money, but you're saying, look, I have more than enough. Let me direct my acquisition of wealth to serve the society. So this is tyaga. It's not that he doesn't have the desire for money, but he's trying to renounce that to work for a higher purpose. So they're just trying to draw the distinction between a person who has the desire and needs to work on giving it up versus a person who's already given it. So the focus in tyaga is on action, dynamic action in the world. That's how you will grow. Don't compare yourself to sannyasa. First of all, there are no sannyasis, so don't worry about it. You won't find anybody who's overcome action. It's a very, very high state. Those days, there were people like that, so they had to mention. Today, Gita was written, they won't talk about sannyas. They would just simply say karma yoga, do action, be unselfish. Not possible. Why confuse people? Those days, there was a significant number of people in that state of high spiritual growth. So, they said, don't mimic them. That's what Krishna is telling Arjuna in the Gita. The whole Gita is that. You are not capable of renunciation. Sit and fight this war. Fight. But renounce your selfishness. So, to make it simple for you, tyaga means renunciation of selfishness. Finished. Why beat around the bush? Sannyasa means you've already renounced. You're not selfish. Tyaga is you are selfish, but you have to give it up. You have to work for a higher purpose. That's it. Once you understand that, where's the problem?
Okay, so in other words, there's no way you could be a sannyas without overcoming tyaga first.
Without practicing tyaga and attaining the state of sannyas. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
That's why Krishna, throughout the text, he dissuades Arjuna from sannyasa, from higher forms of spirituality. In fact, he tells him, form worship is much better than formless, which is actually untrue. Formless you can relate to when you're in a very high state. Before that, you need a form. But for Arjuna, he needs form. So he says, forget formless worship. Form is much better. You see?
Yeah, so actually, sorry, real quick, let me go back to that. So Swamiji gave the example of cooking in the kitchen. So someone who has no desire to cook, but they're forced to do it out of obligation, but then they could develop a fruit of the desire, like, oh, I want to cook so that people will enjoy my food, and that.
Yeah, but that's still not a desire to cook. It's a desire to get appreciation from people. Right? You don't want to cook, you hate cooking, but you're doing it to get, so the desire is appreciation. So that's different. The point is you still have desire.
Okay, so in that case, that person would not, you wouldn't consider them a sannyas,
No,
right?
because they have other desires. They have not overcome. See, it's like a child says, I don't have a desire for a purple car, but I only have desire for green car. Will you say the child is a sannyas? He has overcome the desire for cars. It's just one desire is not there. Doesn't mean you overcome that level. You see what I'm saying? Now that is different from an adult. You can give red, blue, yellow, green, purple. You'll say, I don't want any of this stuff. I don't need this. Right? That's the difference. So most people, well, that's what he's cautioning, who say, I don't want this, I don't want that. They want other things. Simply they'll talk. The Gita I've understood. The fellows who talk like that have a character, in the extended families. Each one is a sannyas according to them, right? They've not even come to Tyaga, forget about. What else? Shweta?
Hari Om Gautamji. So my question is in lines with the previous topic about the desire, where I have a desire to stay in touch with my family through WhatsApp. And my family would love to stay in touch. My personal goal is to get rid of that desire, to even have that desire.
Mm-hmm.
I think I can do it, but then I feel that I won't be a part of the family and feel left out. What should I do?
So you have a desire to be part of the family and not be left out. Why are you saying you don't have the desire? Of course you have.
I can do it, but I feel that then
you can do it, but you have a desire. Finished. First understand. Okay. You are not above that desire. You have a tremendous value for what they think of you. Period. Number one. Number two is you need to understand, whether it's family, whether it's anything in the world, how much of it is the minimum obligation you have to do, and how much of it is going to interfere with your spiritual path in life. That is what you must come to a firm understanding. Mm-hmm. So let's say one group where there's a minimum interaction and still I'm part of the family, it's okay to be there. But 10 groups, each one doing their own thing, I'm not necessary. So it depends. Or be part of the group and mute the notification. What difference does it make? Let them go on blabbering. Once in a while say, yes, wonderful. Once in a month, wonderful, wonderful. That's all they need. So you decide. Mm-hmm. You can be part of the group and be out of it. Point is, you have that desire. What is happening? Oh, that fellow's nephew went to Harvard. Now they'll say my son went to, I don't know, useless. And whole interest is there. What that fellow is doing, what my uncle is doing, aunt is doing. Who, what. She bought the diamond set. I want to buy a platinum set. Whatever. So where is your thought? So if you're perfectly objective, decide whether it's WhatsApp or no. How much of interaction is necessary? Okay. Come to your own conclusion. Be true to yourself. And beyond that, don't get into it.
So my thing is, I would like to be useful, but there's nothing useful we are doing in there.
I know, I agree with that. I agree there's nothing useful you're not doing there also, but in many other things. Yeah. You understand? The point is, you decide. Once the goal is clear that you want to grow as a human being, then Fix your daily schedule, fix your level of interaction with the world. What helps you get there? Yes, I have to spend this much time with my family. Yes, I have to do this job. Yes, I'm not going to go every time I'm invited for a social occasion. Once a week is okay. Fix your parameters. I need to look after my physical exercise. This much time for the kids, whatever it is. And stick to that. And you find something really not useful, dump it. That's all. Why do you care what people are saying?
I would rather have personal interaction, so it's okay for me to get out of the group.
Don't ask me, because tomorrow your husband will come and I'll get a call. Who asked you? You told my wife not to get into the group. Giving the parameters.
Okay.
If you believe it's not productive and it's going to interfere with your chosen path in life, drop it.
Okay.
If you think, yes, I can do it objectively just to serve them, be a part of it, not to create a scene and not interact, if that's a easier option, do that.
Okay. Thank you so much, Gautamji.
Point is, each one of you must decide. You are the custodian of your own conscience. But once you decide a chosen path in life, then you stick to it. Don't compromise. Because once you compromise, you'll end up totally away from what you chose. Once you deviate, you know not where to stop, right? See, it's like two lines are parallel. If they are actually parallel, they will be the same distance throughout. But one line starts deviating just 3 degrees. It seems they're parallel. But the more you go, it becomes like this, right? More you go, the longer you go, you'll see the difference. Life is like that. The minute you deviate even a little, where you're going to end up. All the guys who started with these huge frauds, I'm talking billions and hundreds of millions and dollars and rupees, whatever. You should see the interviews, fascinating. First entry was just a small adjustment. $5,000 a year just to one fellow to pay the other. End of 50 billion. Ponzi scheme. It starts like that. Once you compromise, you're gone. So, Vedanta is liberal. In the sense you choose your boundary. But once you choose, at least stick to it. So you may not create a scene unnecessarily. Everybody is there and you say, no, I am not there. And you can be there and not respond. Or respond once in a way just to. But if you feel, no, there's constant notifications and what all they are conversing, it affects my mind. It affects my outlook in life. I do get affected by it. Be true to yourself. Then why should you do? Say, sorry, I prefer meeting you all in person rather than these groups, And then be firm to what you think. It is a good question. So each one of us needs to decide for ourselves. To thine own self be true. What Shakespeare says, right? As night the day, thou shalt not then be false to any man. To thine own self be true. And what is it? What's the next line? And it must follow as night the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. Be true to yourself, then you're not being false to anyone. Right. So, any further questions? We can take it up next time. We'll meet on Saturday. Hari Om.